All right, everyone, we start off today with a simple question. Does Kamala Harris hate America? The answer is yes and no. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt here, of course. I know that she's a psychopath. I think that she hates America in its current form. The other day, for example, she came out and replying to Huckabee Sanders, actually, in some of her comments. She was being grilled by the legacy media. Said, well, it's not the 1950s anymore. We're aware of this, by the way, Kamala. We're aware of what year it is. Unlike Joe Biden, the person that you serve under. What I think is that Kamala Harris doesn't necessarily hate America in and of itself. The country, that is, the United States. What she hates is the current form of it. She, along with other radicals, want to fundamentally change what the United States means. That is, that they don't want a free market economy. They want a mixed economy, something along the lines of China. They don't want total free expression, and they've stated this openly. They want controlled expression. They don't really want the Second Amendment intact as it has been for the entire inception of the United States. They want a return to the Crookshank era, which is that guns are a privilege and things like that. They don't want states' rights purview of the 10th Amendment. They want the states to be effectively subjugated to a central authority. They don't want the right to a free and fair trial, that's for sure. We've seen this with Donald Trump multiple times. Kamala Harris doesn't hate America. She just has a different idea of what America should be. A shittier idea. A more depraved, degenerated idea of what America should be. That is that the Second Amendment is a privilege. The First Amendment is tempered by whatever the government happens to deem appropriate at the time. The right to a fair trial is suspended if, the government doesn't like you. The 10th Amendment is subjugate. That is that the federal government is supreme and the states are subjugate to it, which is exactly the opposite of the original founding intent, and so on forth. That's effectively what Kamala Harris wants. Under her particular ideology, if we were to adopt all of those traits as a nation, she would love America. She would love America because it would become more like the old world. But this is exactly what we fought to get away from. In the Revolutionary War, people need to understand this. The people of the United States, what became the United States, were British subjects. They were not a separate nation. They were fighting their own government. When Paul Revere made his famous ride, he didn't say, the British is coming, the British is coming. No, he didn't say that because he was British. He said the regulars were coming. He said the regulars were coming because that was the term for soldier. He didn't say the militia was coming. He didn't say the British was coming because he was British. He said the regulars were coming. That is the redcoats, the infantry, the regular troops of the British Empire had been dispatched to try to confiscate various arms. That's what actually led to the revolution. It had nothing to do with tea. Most people don't understand this. It had to do with the confiscation of firearms more than anything else. They were stockpiling military-style weapons, which were much better than the weapons that they had previously, and that's basically Lexington and Concord were predicated on that. People need to understand that. History is important. Kamala Harris doesn't dislike America. She just has a radically different notion of what America should be. It's an unfortunately radical notion. Donald Trump represents maintaining the status quo insofar as we have the right to a fair trial, we have the right to defend ourselves, we have the right to express ourselves, the states have rights. He's been very, very much pro-10th Amendment, by the way, especially on abortion. We'll be talking about that later. Now, they keep trying to castigate him and saying, ooh, he's going to ban abortion. Where has he said that? He's been pretty explicit and pretty consistent on this particular issue. Just saying. Donald Trump represents the America that we know, at least in some form. It's a soft reset sort of America. Kamala Harris represents a radical leap to a different America that more resembles the old world. If the United States falls into the old world pattern, there is no longer anywhere in the world, by the way, where anyone can go and truly be free, unless they want to live on the edge of society in the hinterlands. And even then it'll be, difficult. It'll be difficult to actually set that up. You'd have to live on the edge of the Sahara Desert or in a jungle somewhere or something like that. Like that last Japanese soldier in the 70s that refused to surrender and was raiding local farms because he didn't know that the war was over. You'd have to live that kind of lifestyle. Otherwise, you will be subjugate to some state that will tell you what to do. The United States was founded on the then radical notion that people were capable of generally governing their own business, that states were governing their own business, that the federal government had effectively a few small roles. Print a currency and standardize it to make sure that there was a standard medium of exchange, because under the Articles of Confederation, of course, it got a little bit messy at times. Field a military in order to protect the homeland, which was subjugate actually to the militia originally, and the militia being the body of people at large capable of mustering arms, and to maintain like a court system, police and things like that. That was effectively the only role, and to conduct diplomacy, trade. That was the only role of the federal government originally. We've metastasized since then, like a cancer. The federal government has metastasized like a cancerous tumor to all organs within our system and made things far, far worse. What we should be doing is at least what Trump suggests, which is a soft reset back 40 or 50 years. That would be preferable to what we're laboring under now. What Kamala Harris has in mind, instead, is to jump ahead 50 years, just, put it on blast, and subjugate the states, eliminate the ability of people to defend themselves, temper the ability of people to express themselves, temper the ability of people to get a fair trial, assuming that there's any political motive within that trial at all, etc., etc., etc. So Kamala Harris doesn't hate America. She hates what America is now. She doesn't hate what America would be under her purview, but what America would be under her purview would be evil. It would be terrible. It would be a cancer upon the world. It wouldn't be worth supporting the United States under the kind of concepts that Kamala Harris has in mind. It wouldn't be responsible to support it. It wouldn't be responsible to give it any sort of oxygen to burn. That's the truth. Kamala Harris doesn't hate the United States. She just hates what it is currently. She wants to transform it, like all other Marxists. And she is a communist, let me tell you. If you look at what she said, and you look at what she's done, she is an authoritarian. You look at her prosecutorial record, you'll see that, flat out. She's an authoritarian. She's definitely left-leaning on economic issues. And she's idpol. What more do we need to declare her a communist? She is a commie. She's a commie. She's not just a standard, like a garden variety socialist like Bernie Sanders. She's an outright communist. And she's partnered with somebody who likes to take field days in China. I find that very telling. Tim Walz is also a communist. Joe McCarthy was fundamentally right, in part. And I've sparred with people on this before. Joe McCarthy overextended, and he left his flank open to be criticized, and then he was discredited. But his fundamental central premise was actually correct. He was correct. There were communists infiltrating Hollywood. There were communists infiltrating the legal system. There were communists infiltrating the government. He was right. He just overextended. He decided, he was like, oh God, there's so many commies. And so he started, accusing people that were, like Burl Ives. Burl Ives was not a commie. I hate to tell you, but the voice of every other Christmas movie in the 60s and 70s was not actually a communist. Those were family friendly and stuff and had values like, togetherness, acceptance, family and stuff like that. It was very traditionalistic and stuff like that. Burl Ives was no commie. And he actually, I believe, flipped on several other people to save his career. It's unfortunate that he had to do that. McCarthyism, though, was fundamentally correct in its central premise. It just overextended. That's the only problem with it. Kamala Harris is a communist, a real communist. And so is Tim Walz, it appears. Maybe that's why he was chosen instead of Shapiro. Maybe it doesn't have to do with the Jewish question. Maybe it has to do with the fact that Tim Walz was just more commie than Josh Shapiro. That would be really, really funny, by the way. That's about all. Peace out.